Yeah.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I like. Okay, you did a great job. I would have. Okay, I would have preferred that you didn't apply the modifier. That's the subdivision service modifier. I just leave it there. Because for now, say for example, if I want to make any corrections or something like that, it will be the poly is a bit dense for me to work with. Okay, but I mean it's still workable, of course. But I mean, well, this one is still low poly relative, as in not as dense as it could be, but it will still be a little bit more challenging working with. So yeah, I think you did a great job overall. Um, awesome. But what I would have loved to see also is you notice these edges that I made sharp. I would have preferred
Yeah.
you like make these ones right. Let's say this is closer, then these edges will now be something like flat-ish. So I don't know. Give me a
Okay.
second. So something like this. This is how you notice the bottle is. It's not. I'm trying to look for.
Actually, I was trying like this at first, but I don't know. I think after I did two ridges, I think I did the third one like sharp edges. I think that was actually from that end and just did sharp edges all through.
Okay. All right, but in to be realistic, you actually did an awesome job. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you is this. If you notice it's like flat, then has the ridge is in fact is the sharper point. The ridge is sharp, then the what do you call it? No, the ridge is flat, but the depth, what they call that thing, the indent basically, that's the one that is a bit sharp. All right, so
Yeah.
yeah, you did great. You did great. I don't know if we have time. I don't think we have much time. I would have loved to model this, or maybe I'll just try and do some quick modeling of the what they call it, of the bottle itself, so I can get something. So this is the workflow I would have loved for you to do. All right, but this is good. So let me close this and save. Um, yeah, I don't know who's the
Yeah, this
person
is
that
mine.
made. Who's this? Sorry.
Daniel.
All right, Daniel. Okay, great. Yeah, Daniel, you did a great job. Um, I like the fact that the spacing between the ridges are relatively more even and more closer to the real thing, which is good. Um, yeah, you used a bevel modifier instead of a subdivision modifier. Not bad, actually. Not bad. You used the okay. How did you get? You didn't use the flat edges, right? So what I would have loved to see is this, right? Say we have uh okay, let me say this and this, right? So maybe we'll scale them shift Z. Sorry, shift Z, bring them out a little bit. Then I would love to have these places flat, right? So what I'll do is I'll dissolve the edges. So don't worry too much about what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you how I love there used to be. So now you can see that it's a bit flat. This is what I would like to see: flat, then a sharp denting inside, then flat again, sharp denting. So not necessarily the curve. Now this is actually how, I don't know which company has that bottle that has this curve instead of the flat place. So yeah, I think this is great. The overall shape looks amazing. I like the fact that you separated the objects of the cap and the body itself, which is great. All right, good. So in another class, we'll actually be texturing these, doing all the whole materials, of course. I think I mentioned that, and having everything look as realistic to the real bottle as possible, like to be very realistic, and we'll render it out, of course. So um that's what we'll be doing later on. Okay, so but we're run out of time, so let's quickly get into today's class. So um for today what we'll be looking at mostly will be, sorry, give me a second, I want to share again. Can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, yes.
All right, good. So today we'll be talking more about modifiers, and we'll still be doing some additional modeling exercises. The only way to get good at Blender is to keep practicing. There is no other way to get good at Blender. You have to keep practicing. So we'll be doing some live exercises, and we'll be talking about modifiers. So today the modifiers major we'll be talking about the mirror modifier, talking about the solidify modifier, and we'll be talking about the array modifier. Okay. So three major modifiers. Like in the last class, I just gave a brief understanding overview of what modifiers are. So basically, modifiers help to streamline your workflow, right? To make your workflow faster, and things that you would normally have to do manually, and they make it kind of modular or procedural rather, right? So say for example, let me shift A to add. Oh, sorry, let me turn on the screencast keys so you can see the keys I'm pressing. Okay, so say for example you wanted to create a monkey head, an army of monkeys, right? So you added one monkey head. You wanted to create 10 monkeys now. So to duplicate in Blender, that will be Shift D, right? You just select what you want to duplicate. You select it and then you press Shift D, and it's to create a duplicate that follows the mouse. Then you place it wherever you want. And if you want to snap back to the position, you right click or you escape. You snap back. The duplicate is still there, but it's just in the same position. Then you can now G to grab. Let me turn this on for reference. G to, then grab it or move. So that's like how you duplicate normally, right? So if I wanted to make 10 monkeys or maybe 100 monkeys, right? You generally would most likely not want your scene to have too many objects, because it might start slowing down your Blender interface. But if I wanted to have something like 100 monkeys, I'll have to start duplicating everything one by one, maybe select everything at best, then duplicate again. Then we'll now have 6 monkeys. They'll now duplicate again. I mean, the workflow for this is crazy. Now, let's even assume I now successfully duplicated and have 6 monkeys. Then I'll say, oof, I want my monkeys to have horns. How do I do that? Then I'll now start taking one by one and start creating horns or something like that. Let's say you want to create a horn. I'll just select the two. This is here, extrude. I don't know. It's just a reference. So I want that to happen to all of them now. But because I have duplicated them as separate objects, I have to start doing the same thing for each and every one of them. Now imagine you have 100 objects. It's just a nightmare. Okay. So modifiers, there's a modifier that will help us do this more seamlessly, and that's called the array modifier. And please bear in mind, the names are kind of self-explanatory, but I'll just explain all the same. When you hear an array simply means something like a pattern or basically pattern. I think that's the business. So to create an array, just let me delete every other monkey head. Okay, so say I wanted to make 100 of these monkeys. So I will come to, or maybe let's say 10. Let's not go overboard, right? 10 of these monkeys. I'll come to this modifiers panel. So the modifier is usually on the right side here. Click on this wrench icon. That's the modifier icon. If you don't know what it is, you can just hover your mouse over it and it will give you a preview over your mouse. But it's the one with the wrench icon basically. So by default, you won't have anything, of course. So you can then click on the modifier, on the add modifier, to bring out an option here. Then it's actually under the generate modifier. But if you don't know, you may not need to memorize where to locate all this, but you can just come to this search and search array, right? Now it will array, of course, to show you where it's from, the generate, then array. So in case of next time, so array, you can now click it and you can see the icon shows something like object duplicating or something like a pattern, right? So that helps to show illustrate what it does, right? So once you click that, by default to add an extra object. So I'll explain this settings in a bit. What the array does is basically duplicates the object, or whatever you apply the array to in your scene. It duplicates it, right? It creates copies of it. Now you can easily here add type in how many copies you want. Say you want now it's by default 2, so there are 2 copies here. If I want 10 copies, I'll just type in 10. Of course, you can still use the arrows here. They can, as you increase numbers, increase, and in real time you can also reduce it, which is very great because Say for example, you created 100 monkeys and you wanted to like, let me just turn it to 10. You have to start deleting all the remaining 30. You have to count 30 and delete it manually. But the array modifier made that seamless. You can just type in the number and it will apply and it will create by itself. Okay. But this is like the least part, the small parts, the small features of the array. The array modifier is very powerful, and I'll show you some other features in a bit. Okay, we might not go over all the features, but we'll go over most of them and a few of them. So this factor here, this really next side place here, it talks about the distance between each of the duplicates. Now, if you look at the duplicates, it's as if the ears are touching or they are very close to each other. So if you want them to be like spaced apart, like an actual army, like you want them to be a little bit spaced apart, then you can increase this distance here, this factor. Well, you can do that on any axis, right? So on this x-axis, you have to know the axis you're looking for to increase. So if you want them to be the distance to be spaced on the x-axis, then you increase the distance here on the x-axis. By default, it's 1, so they are just 1 unit apart, right? So if I keep adding, you can, of course, you can have 1 point something units. So if I keep increasing the amount of units, I can make it crazily big and crazily. I can even go negative, right? So it will go the negative side. So yeah. So basically, that's for each, and the same rules applies for all the other axes. So if you want it to be the distance between the monkeys to change on whatever axis, let's say the y-axis now, you see what happens. It's as if they have like a diagonal array, or even on vertical axis, like the one is going up like that. Okay, so that's that about relative offset. So this relative offset is similar to the constant offset, but that's the offset. It's like the distance which the gap between two of them, and it's done relatively here. So the constant offset is basically the same. Let me untick it because you have to tick it to activate that. That's what you're looking at. So let me untick this. So constant offset will make the distance between each of them like constant. It's not going to be a relatively how do I put it? It's not going to be relative. It's going to be the distance is going to be constant, right? So it's basically the same rule. You can increase that, reduce that. So the way I'm doing that is just to click on the numbers and drag, so you can, yeah, that's just the point. So yeah, you can add, make it negative, make it a positive. The same thing on different axes as the Y, the Z. You can do on multiple axes, of course. So yeah, the same rule applies. Okay, so now object offset. This is where the interesting aspect of array modifiers come in. Okay, so if you wanted to do something like a spiral stairs, or yes, we're going to do a small exercise now. We're going to model a jet engine, but before we do that, don't worry, it's pretty easy, trust me. Okay, so an object offset allows you to control the distance or the offset between each array using another object. So notice that the way we've been controlling the distance, the way we've been addressing is just by actually adjusting the numbers here, right? But what if you don't want to adjust, you don't want to have to adjust the number, you want to use another object to control distance. So enough blabbing, let me show you what I mean. All right, so in the first class I explained that an empty object is basically like a null. In I think in some softwares we call it null or something like that. So something like After Effects, I think it's called a null. So an empty object is basically an object that it doesn't really make any physical difference. It only helps to, like, it's like a marker point. It helps to pinpoint points. So it's, if you render, you will not see an empty in a rendered preview or anything. So but it helps you to it's like a reference, yeah, a reference in 3D space. So let me add in an empty object to explain what I mean. So we already spoke about parenting, that's making objects child of each other. So let me add in an empty object. Don't let any of this list fool you. They are all the same thing. They all behave the same way. So it's just a matter of the shape of the empty. It really doesn't make any difference, I promise you. All right, so let's use a cube. Okay, so this is how the empty object looks like. It's not a mesh. Don't be confused. Don't be confused with this. This is an actual cube. This one is a mesh. This one is an empty. Okay, So let me delete this back. All right, so the empty here is like I told you, it's like a reference, and because a reference, that means you can parent something to that empty. Okay, say for example, I want like 3 monkeys now. Let's say I'm duplicating this randomly, but I want all of them to I don't want I don't want to make like one of the monkeys like the parent. I want them to be child of something else, but that something else should not affect my scene. So what do? I'll create an empty and I'll parent all of them to the empty, up to the empty. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then you make sure you select the parent last. Okay, so the highlight will be like yellow as opposed to orange. And now Control P to parent, and yeah, object or keep offset. I don't know, whichever one. So yeah, so if you do anything to this cube right now, into this empty cube, it will affect the rest. So if you rotate it, and another thing is they will rotate about the origin or the pivot of the cube here, which is what you want in some cases, right? So, but the empty is much more powerful than this. The using our knowledge of the array, we can use the empty as an object to help us offset the behavior of this what do you call it, or the behavior of the array. Okay, so let me quickly sorry, let me delete all this and I'll add them back again. Okay, so let's delete everything. So now I have the monkey. Remember, I've deleted the array modifier. Let's add it again, right? Then I'll now add an empty, and I'll show you how you can use the empty to manipulate the array. Okay, so we have an object here. Now let me add in an empty. Let's say let me add in arrows, plain arrows, right? So you might not see it properly. So these are the arrows, right? I just switch to wireframe so we can see through. Okay, so this is an empty, and this is the object that has the array modifier, right? So I'm not going to use the relative offset. I'm going to be using object offset because the object we are using is an empty to offset it. So how do I do that? Maybe I'll just change it to something more visible. Let's say a cube, right? Yeah, so a cube is clickable. All right, good. So notice that when you click this drop down, it gives you an option of where you can add where to specify the kind of object that you want to use as the array offset, right? So you can either just maybe you type in, or if you have made multiple objects in your scene, to all the objects will be listed here, you can select it, or you just use this you use this eyedropper tool. If you use Photoshop, this eyedropper tool should not be new to you. You can just use it and click on the actual object. Make sure it's highlighted, or it's noting the object you are clicking. Then now click on that. All right. So now it has recognized that the empty is the array object. Okay. Now I can increase this. Notice that it seems as though nothing is happening, right? There's no offset. You can't see the distance. But what ought to happen when I move or when I try to manipulate the the empty object now. So let me come into front view. So if I G to grab, or let me use the arrows. If I move this now all our empties all our objects, the arrows are coming apart. So I can even move this around and do crazy things with it. Let me come to a 3D view. So notice that as the empty is getting further away from the original object, the distance between the empty and the original object is affecting the distance between each of the array. That's what's controlling the offset. So that's why the object offset is and that's basically how the object offset works. So it's a tongue twister, object offset. All right, so yeah, so basically that's it, but that's not all. That's like you can do crazy things with it. Now I'm going to we're going to work on a class project right now. We're going to modeling a jet engine, and using this knowledge, we'll be using that to create the array and the fan blades, the blades of the jet engine. All right. So let me quickly delete everything. And yeah, maybe for reference, we can just go to check pictures of the jet engine. Maybe this is just for me, but please, please, I believe we all have our laptops and everything set up with you, because you'll be sharing your screens in a bit. All right, I need some feedback. I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, good. So I'll be calling on us. So please pay up close attention. Um, I'll be using some techniques that may seem. I'll be using the same techniques we'll be talking about, but I'll be using them in a slightly different way. So please pay attention. All right. So if you want to use the array modifier, one thing to note is, especially in your modeling workflow, you might want to use. You will first try to create or model the most basic unit of whatever you're trying to do. So, say something like a chandelier um, or a staircase. Is a staircase. Of course, if you wanted to model a staircase, like the whole thing, what you would do is I just added a cube. What you do is something like, I don't know, there are different ways. There's no one way to do this. So you might want to extrude this, then you extrude this, then you take this to extrude again. Sorry, maybe a little bit. Then you still extrude this again. I don't know, something like that, right? That's how you model a stair. Or if you wanted the stair to maybe not necessarily having to go down, then you have to do something like okay, let me make it more better now, right? So something like this, and I'm adding a loop cut, okay, because I'm trying to make the staircase as simple as possible, or maybe not, yeah, let's just make it like this, right? So I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to use this. So if you wanted to make a staircase, you have to do something like shift D, then you bring it up here, then shift D again, you have to bring it up here, shift D, bring it up here, shift D, bring it up here. Okay, then all this before you now add the side, what they call it, the side something to join them together. So maybe X, all right. And I'm not actually following the proper rule or something like that. So something like this, and yeah. Okay, so X, and don't worry. There's a reason I'm not explaining this too much. So this is like how you create a staircase, right? So I just duplicated this other place. This is like the default way of duplicating a staircase. But if you want a flight of stairs that has like maybe like 10 or 50 or something, like, duplicating this will be quite stressful, and that's another place you can use the array modifier. And of course you can use that with the, what they call it, with the empty also. Okay, but let me use the staircase example before I use the jet engine example, right? So let me not delete this, let me move this to the side. So how I would do this with the array modifier is I'll create a cube, of course. Then in the edit mode of the cube, please, it's important that you know that you are doing this in edit mode. I'll explain why in a bit. Scale, you can, of course, you manipulate scale on Z to make it thinner, then scale on Y to make it longer. Okay. All right, good. So that you make the most basic unit of the staircase, the one that will be repeating, of course. So, and that's like the flat part where this is working. Okay, so you can make it like this. And even if you want to have something like a vertical aspect to it, so you can just like add a loop cut and bring it all the way here. Then you can now extrude that side. Okay, I'll explain why this is important in a minute. So yeah, we can have something like this. Okay, or maybe even the other way. So let me rotate this. Okay, this is totally up to you. I'm just doing what I think is appropriate. Rotate 180 sorry, rotate 180 degrees on the x-axis, right? Good. So this is the most basic unit of these steps for me. So I'm now going to add in the array modifier. Okay, array. So by default, of course, because it's going to be applied to the x-axis, but we don't want any displacement on the x-axis. We want it to be on the z-axis and the y-axis. So the one way to do this is to make this 0. Okay, make this 0. Then make the y, I don't know, whichever number you want, something like 1. Then make the z something like, I don't know, 1 also. Okay, and just like that, we've created the first array. So you can increase this as much as possible to make how many depending on how much stairs you want. All right. Okay, good. So yeah, you can just increase this. I mean, it's up to you. So for this right now, I mean, because I want us to be following, I want everybody to replicate what this aspect I just did right now. Okay, I mean, it's pretty simple. What I did, and note that if you go into edit mode, right, whatever change that you make to the basic object, it will affect the rest of the array. So maybe, for example, I want the stairs to look weird for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, notice that the same effects apply to the rest of the array. That's the advantage of the array modifier. If I had done this manually, say for example, let's look at this other method that I did manually. If I wanted, like, maybe I made a mistake, I want the stairs to be slimmer, for example, or to be taller, right? So L to select just this unit and scale. Now I have to do that for the rest of this also. I have to scale, now do that for this, I have to scale. But with the array modifier, all you have to do is do that for one, and it will apply to the rest automatically. Okay, so yeah, I'll be calling on us to show you, so for you to show me what you're doing with the how you model the stairs, because I want all of us to do this particular one that I did. Okay, so let me just delete it, and I'll do it again for reference. Please follow along on your systems also, so that you can see what I'm doing, so I can replicate this. Right, so you'll be sharing your screens in a bit. Okay, so what I added was a cube. Okay, and I went into edit mode. Please, it's important to note that you have to go into edit mode. Now it will work in out of edit mode, but it will distort, it will not work properly. I'll explain in a bit. But in edit mode, now you can scale on whatever axis, let's say the x-axis, just to make it longer. Okay, and scale on the z-axis, or if you prefer to use this, then you select the scale tool, then you now bring it down a little bit on the z-axis. Okay, so yeah, next is what I did. What I did was I added a loop cut. Okay, and I'm moving the loop cut a little bit to this side. Reason is because I want to make an extrusion here. Okay, so I'm now going to face select mode, select this as this area, and E to extrude. So bring it down a little bit. And yeah, this is discretionary. I'm not using any dimensions or anything. So if you just eyeball it, and if it looks okay to your eyes, then fine. All right, so now that I have this, I'm now adding the array modifier. Okay, so remember that it's under the generate. So I'll just look for the array here, then add in the array. Now by default, it's going to add to the x-axis. Okay, but remember that this is steps. So and a steps is going to be it's going to progress on, like, looking at from our reference, it's going to be on the blue axis and the green one, right? So not the red one. So it's kind of like in between those two. So we'll be using a combination of those two. So we'll add 1 unit on the z-axis, 1 unit on the y-axis. All right, so I'm going to remove the 1 unit that is already on this x-axis. I'm going to make that 0. Okay, then I'll come back here to the y-axis offset, make it 1. Okay, notice that it increased 1 on the y-axis. Then on the z-axis, I'll make it 1 also. Good. You can make this any number, it doesn't matter, right? So just eyeball it so that it suits your so it sits perfectly. Okay, so then you can now increase the offset amount to the array amount to whatever you want. All right, so I'll be calling on Brian. That's the name that just came to my head right now. So Brian, I'll start with you sharing your screen. I'll stop sharing now. Brian, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
All right, good. So can you replicate what I just did now? You replicate that before we go to the jet engine. Replicate that. Kausara, get ready. Dominic, get ready. Odina Kachuku, you're welcome. It's been a while. All right, so Dominic, Noble, you're welcome. It's been a while. All right, so Daniel, you guys get ready. You'll be sharing your screens in a bit. Okay, yeah. Brian, excellent. You did an excellent job.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Brian, you said something?
Oh no, I think someone else was speaking. So yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Someone dropped a message in the chat box. Okay. So Da Silva, you're joining on the phone, right? Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, so Brian, you did a great job. Kausara, please let's have you ASAP. We have a lot to do and we're running out of time. Okay, your network is bad. Are you sure you guys are the network is bad, or you're just running away from from the spotlight? Okay, Dominic, let's have you ASAP. Dominic, Daniel, get ready. Tosin, also get ready. Ooh, where are all the ladies?
All right,
here.
so
yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, proceed.
Yeah, where I'm actually increasing, it's going down to the Z axis. So I don't know if it's the right thing.
Well, yes. Wait, hold on. Okay, I think it's really not a big deal. You can just, instead of using the plus, you can just use minus Z, right? Change your Z number. No. The factor of Z, factor of the relative. So change it to -1. -1.
Okay.
And then also you might need to change the Y also to -1. Change the Y also to -1. Yeah, so that fixes. So if you notice, thank you for that. If you notice that your objects are going, your array is going the wrong direction, just change it, like flip it. It's basically like a graph. So if it's on the post, if it's going on the one side, which is the opposite side, we flip it by adding a minus sign in front of your numbers. All right, so there's no big deal. All right, so great, that's awesome. Yeah, Daniel, let's have you ASAP. Tosin, we're waiting for you. Tosin, be ready.
Okay, sir.
Tosin, sorry, Daniel. Okay, good. Daniel. Excellent. Yeah, great. Excellent. So Tosin, ASAP before we move on. Okay, great. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, good. Oh, that's the previous class example. Okay, good. All right, so let's move on. Now this is something more interesting. Okay, now this test is good. Yeah, you can of course add in all the other panels like the side rails and everything. But the challenging part of something of the repetitive task, like everything that you have to do repetitively, you can use the array modifier for. So now let's do something interesting with the array modifier. Okay, so now I have a basic steps. I don't know if I should okay, let me not delete this. Oh, no, let me delete everything. Okay, I'm deleting everything in the scene. Now to create a jet engine blade. All right, so first of all, I'll create the blade.
Sorry, I can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was sharing. All right, good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right, good. So first of all, I deleted everything in the scene. Okay, so first of all, what I'll be doing is I'll be creating the blade of the jet engine. And if you have any background in engineering or science, basically, you know that blades of things like that there's something called an airfoil, right? So it has a particular shape, but it's not so much of a big deal. I mean, if you know what you're doing, then if you know what you want to achieve, then you know how to model that. So what I'll do is I'll add in a cube. All right. Okay, so add in a cube. Notice I usually start with a cube. I don't know, it's a force of habit, and that's because I mean it's easier to turn a cube into almost anything. So it's just a tip. It's not like it's written in stone, right? So add in a cube. Remember I'm trying to model a blade, so I'm going to make this cube taller. I make it taller. As a matter of fact, I'll even move this on the Z axis and have it sit specifically here. All right. Okay, so the cube is taller now. Now I'm going to scale it on the Y axis because I'm trying to make it narrow. Good. Now what I was talking about the airfoil, I'm going to model that shape from the top. Okay, so from the top, I'm going to be adding a series of loop cuts. Okay, so let's add in our first loop cut down the top here. Okay, let's add in our first loop cut. Maybe add another one. Okay, let's just leave this one for now. So from the top here, looking at this from the top, I want to go into the vertex select mode. Now I'm also going into wireframe because I'm going to be selecting the top and bottom vertices. Okay, so okay, maybe I'll add in one more loop cut on the diagonal here like this. Okay, maybe like what I mean is I'm adding one more loop cut on this diagonal here. I'll be explaining why I'm adding loop cuts in a second. You see them, you see the reason. So right click to put it in the middle like that, then go back to the top view. All right, good. So I want this to come out a bit. Notice how I'm selecting the whole thing. I'm not just clicking to select because if I click just want to select, it will not select the one at the bottom. So I want to select like the whole thickness, right? So the two vertices on both top and bottom. So I'm selecting this. I'm bringing it forward a bit. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a rough shape of the airfoil, right? So I'll bring this one here, or maybe this back one. I'll make this go a little bit further back, right? And I'll bring it down a little bit. Yeah. Then I'll bring this one. I'll make it go up a little bit. I'll bring this few up here. All right, so there's no rule to this. This is also slightly discretionary. So I'm just trying to make a rough shape. So those of us that have the science background, you understand that this is looking a little bit more like the airfoil shape. All right, so this is the rough shape. Of course, to make this smoother, I explained the subdivision surface modifier. This is also under the generate. So generate a subdivision surface modifier to make it smoother. Of course, at first to ruin it, to ruin the shape, but fear not. We'll go into the edge select mode. I'll select the ring all around. Of course, don't select because the top is not really four-sided per se. All right, so I'll select this and make it sharp, right? By Shift E, and then pull out or just type 1 to make it sharp. Okay, I'll do the same for the bottom side. Okay, and Shift E and make it sharp. Press 1. Good. So now it's looking more like the airfoil. This is the shape I was trying to get, like that, kind of like the shape of the wing of an aircraft, right? So that's an airfoil. In aerodynamics, I don't want to go into science, but in aerodynamics, that's the optimum shape that helps to minimize drag and helps to manipulate the wind and air pressure, basically. So yeah, so that's the shape I was trying to get. So yeah, it basically looks like it now, but I can even make it even smoother, but I won't go crazy with this. Okay, let's just leave it at 2 for now. Okay. All right, that's step 1. Please follow this along because every one of us will be sharing our screen. Please, what I'm doing, also be doing it on your system. Okay. All right. So, if you notice, the blades of jet engines are kind of like, it has a triangular shape, meaning like the lower part is maybe narrow and then the upper part is big. So it's what we're creating is the blade, and we'll create an array of the blade around a hub, sort of, that makes it rotate. Okay, so that's what we're trying to achieve. All right, so I'll just make the upper part a little bit bigger. Okay, good. Yeah, let's make it bigger. All right, so now follow along this carefully. All right, the blades for jet engines are kind of twisted, so it's not just straight like this, it's twisted. So what I'll be doing is I'll be adding loop cuts at individual at kind of like at successive lengths of the blade, so that we can have that twisted effect, right? So to do that, I'll just add Ctrl R for loop cuts, and then I'll make it maybe like 4 or 5 loop cuts. I'm just scrolling up on my mouse wheel to have more loop cuts. I don't want too much because it's going to take more time. It's going to be more hassle if it's too much. So let's just say, yeah, something like this is okay. That's about 5 cuts, and I'm going to select it and right click. So I made it to be on the default position. All right. So now I have 5 loop cuts here. Now what I'll be doing to this loop cuts is what I want you to pay attention to. All right. So I'll hold Alt, of course, to select the ring. Now I'll be rotating each of these loop cuts along the Z-axis to create that twisting effect that I told us about for the jet engine, for the blades of jet engine. So I'll start from this first one. I may start from this one to go. No, let's start from this one. Okay, so I'll rotate on the Z-axis. Because I want the twisting to be uniform, I can use a uniform number, something like 10 degrees or so, or 20 degrees. Let's just say 10 degrees. So I'm going to rotate this on the, notice how I'm doing it. Press R to rotate, then Z to constrain the rotation to the Z-axis, and then 10, type in the number 10 degrees. Okay, so enter. So the same thing, I'll do this for this, but because I want the if I type 10 degrees, then the whole thing is just going to go 10 degrees. So I'm going to increase the next ring here. I'm going to increase it by another 10 degrees because I want the successive rotation twisting to be 10 degrees apart. So this one is 10 degrees, this one will be 20 degrees, this one will be 30 degrees, and 40 degrees, 50 degrees, and the last line here will be 60 degrees. Okay, so are you following, please? All right. So this is not a rule of thumb, but it's kind of like a tip of how to model this faster. So you can do this however you want, or I mean, avoid the headache and just it will help you make it faster, right? So, okay, so the next layer now, we'll be doing 20 degrees. Okay, so rotate Z 20, enter. Okay, the next layer 30 degrees, rotate Z 30, enter. Next layer 40. Rotate Z 40, enter. Next one 50, rotate Z 50, enter. And the last layer 60, rotate Z 60, enter. Now if you observe this, let me go into solid view so you can see properly. We've successfully created that twisting effect to that to the blade. And because I have the subdivision modifier, the twisting is kind of gradual, right? So if I hide the effect of the subdivision, it's still kind of that blocky effect, although the twisting is still there, and the airfoil, of course, is still there. So let me just add this, right? Now, if you don't want to see this square faces-ish, you can just right-click and smooth, or you auto-smooth, click auto, shade auto-smooth, right? So yeah, now it looks smooth and much better, right? So I think I want to make the blade a little bit longer. So I'm going to go into edit view, select everything, and scale on the Z-axis to make it longer. All right. Remember, I want to make this sit specifically on like the line. Okay. All right, good. And the reason for that is because I want the pivot, the rotating points to be like at the bottom, at the base here. I may even move it a little bit upward, but let's leave it like this for now. All right, good. So now moving on, the next step is the array, all right, to create the blade effect. So how do I do that? I'm going to add in an array. So let's, an empty basically. So let's make this empty, maybe a sphere, all right? Yeah, so we have an empty sphere. Now select the blade, add in the array modifier, right? We have the array modifier, of course, by default to offset like this. But then I don't want it to use the relative offset. I want to use the object offset. So I'm going to deselect this and click the object offset, click the drop down. But the object I want to use to offset is the empty that I just created. So I'm going to use the dropper tool, eyedropper tool to select the empty. Good. That's step one. Now the final step that will make this a blade is to make the blade. So what you do is, instead of just moving this around, let me increase the array count so that I can see it. Let's say we want to use, I don't know, maybe 12 blades or 16. Yeah, let's say 16 blades. All right, so instead of just moving this around, having all the blades here, what I'm going to do to create the array is rotate this. I'm going to rotate the empty. So R to rotate the empty, and then once you rotate it around, you can just raise something like this, and voila, we have a fan blade. Right now, because I want the by default, I want to have some space for the hub that's going to be that all the blades are going to be connected to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the object. I'm going to edit mode, and this is another advantage of the array modifier. Okay, so if I move this up, notice that how it's affecting all the arrays also. Okay, so let me just leave it somewhere like I don't know, something like here. Here is okay for me. Yeah, here's okay for me. All right, good. So you can see also edge that this is another advantage. You can in real time also manipulate how the arrays would behave. So let's say you don't like how, because this part seems like it's too close and all the rest are evenly spaced, of course. So I'm still going to rotate it a bit. Now if you're moving or you're making any action in Blender and you want to like make very small increments, like you want to make very small changes in transform, by default it might move very drastically. So you can hold down the shift button and it will make your changes very, no matter how, if you move your mouse very far, it will have very small difference. So that's why you see me holding the shift when I'm moving sometimes, right? So yeah, that's just a tip. All right, so this also works for rotate, scale, etc. Right, so if I rotate out, the rotation is a little bit, I just want to make a small rotation, but it's moving drastically. So I'm just going to hold the shift and then I'll be able to make more precise rotations. Okay, so yeah, this is okay for me. I think something like this. All right, good. So now we have the fan blades. Okay. Before I move in, I want to see our screen, see how we if we successfully be able to do this before I proceed. Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen now, and I'll call on Tosin. All right, so share your screen, Tosin. Noble, get ready.
Hello, sir. Kindly give me some few minutes. My network has been up and down.
All right, okay, so let's move to Noble. All right, we'll come back to you, Tosin. So Noble, please share your screen. Daniel, be ready. Then Dominic, followed by Dominic, and then Brian. Before we proceed. Okay, so Noble.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, please share.
Yeah, I'm currently not on my system at the moment. I happen to event, so I'm currently being attending both at the event and this class. So when I get home, I'll start practicing.
All right, that's fine. So Daniel, let's have you. Daniel, followed by Dominic and Brian. Daniel, Dominic, Brian. So Daniel, I'm waiting for you.
Too far with mine, though.
Yeah, let's see. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it. I want everybody to follow along. That's why. So
this is where I got stuck.
Yeah, you've successfully created the airfoil or the airfoil. So go into edit mode. All right. Can you look at it from a front view? Oh, but it doesn't matter anyways. So the loop cut that you had in the middle, right? I wanted to have more loop cuts as much and as little as possible. So you want to have like something like 5 or nothing less than 3, basically, so that you can control the twisting angle at each successive point. Right? So you know what? Stop that first. Dissolve the loop cut you have there already. Select the wait, hold on. Select the ring. Hold Alt and select the ring there. Yeah. Okay, now press X on your keyboard and dissolve edges. All right, good. So what I want you to do is use Control R to add the loop cut. I use an external mouse. Genevieve, you're welcome.
Yes.
Kausara, you're welcome. Now don't click yet. Have you clicked?
Yes.
No, don't click. Oh no, okay, good. So Control R, don't click yet. Just hover your mouse over the portion. Now scroll your mouse wheel. Scroll your mouse wheel up. Yeah, good. So I want to have like maybe 3 or 4. Now, reason why I'm asking to do it this way is because I want the spacing between each of the loop cuts to be somewhat even. So by default, it's going to be like even. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. So scroll it to any number you want, maybe 5, then 5, 4, 3 or so. Okay. If you're satisfied, you can just click and make it permanent. Click, then escape or right click. Escape, press escape or right click. Good. So it's going to snap that to the space. Okay. So now you didn't make the, I would have preferred that you made the top wider and then the bottom part narrow, because that's how like the blade is. So the lower part is narrow, then the top is wider. You can easily do that now. Control Z to remove the loop cut, because if you do that, you have to be adjusting each of the regions. Okay, so are you sure you are doing this properly? View the, okay, yeah. Now the reason why you can do that is because you have the transparency or the back face checked. Yeah, it's discretionary. There's no if you're satisfied with it, you can stop. Okay, good. So now add the loop cut. Add the loop cuts. Okay. If I add the loop cuts, now you can start the rotation. So start from here, like that, rotate each of the axes. Please be as fast as possible. Brian and Dominic, are you ready? We're moving to your name.
So I didn't get the code, the keyboard shortcuts.
It's not good. All right, so you can do this without keyboard shortcut also, but what I did was tap R. R is rotate. R for rotate. So you tap R. No, hold on. Okay, so you tap R, then you want to constrain that rotation to the Z axis. That's the vertical axis, right? So tap R, tap Z, then type in the number you want to, the amount of degrees you want to rotate it by. Okay, so you want to rotate it by 10 degrees, then you type in 10. You want to rotate by 5 degrees, by 15 degrees, type in 15. Okay. So but for the curve to be consistent, what you want to do is you want it to make like a progression, an increment of the specific number of degrees you're using. So say I don't want to be too technical about this. So say for example the first one is 10 degrees, the next one should be 20 degrees, next one should be 30 degrees, like 40 degrees. You understand? Yeah. So this one will be, the next one now will be 30 degrees. Rotate RZ 30. Okay, good. Then next one, RZ 40, and then the last level, RZ 50. You don't have to use 10 degrees, by the way. So I just use 10 degrees because like that's what's convenient for me. You can use 20 degrees, 15 degrees. You can use any degrees. Just know that the progression is consistent. All right. No. So select now. That's because you have edges that are not selected at that top level. All right, so you have it from top. Exactly. Good. RZ 50, I believe. RZ 50. Okay, good, fantastic. So now create the array ASAP so we can have Daniel and we're running out of time and we'll still have 2 more modifiers to talk about. ASAP. All right. No. And what I added was not a mesh. Now, just to bear in mind, you could actually use a mesh. In fact, let me even do this with a mesh. So you could use a mesh or you could use an empty. What I added was an empty. All right. So okay, just finish what you're doing. then I'll show you how you can use a mesh. You can use a mesh. You can use any object basically, but the reason why I use that an empty is because I don't want that to appear in my scene. I don't want it to really show up in my scene. I just want to use it as a reference object to manipulate the array. No. Select the object. No, not the empty. The blade. That's also something for everybody to note, please. What will be listed, what will be displayed in your properties panel is dependent on what you have in your on the object selected. Good. I'll explain. This is the error I was trying to explain, but I'll explain it in a bit. I'll explain why you have that error in a bit. Okay, good. Let me just explain the error, why you have the error. You notice that I keep mentioning that if you want to make the edit, make sure you are doing the edit in edit mode. Notice I mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
So let me explain in a bit. Can you stop sharing? Let me share my screen.
Sure. Stop sharing.
Okay, good. So what Noble was experiencing, maybe I will just hide all this. H is the shortcut key for hide, or you can just come to this place and like click this I button. So I just hid everything here. So if you want to add an array, all right, the array will actually utilize the transform, the initial transform that is on the object. So if you're in object mode, any transform you make will affect the object, right? So and this is how to know, right? If you come to this with the object selected, come to the properties panel here and select this object, so you can see the properties of the object. Now under this transform drop down, everything is 0, 0, 0, 0, and the scale has to be 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Scale on the x and the y, and everything has to be 1, 1, 1. But if I should say scale this on the x-axis, notice I'm in object mode and do this. Notice that the scale is no longer 1, 1, 1. The scale has been changed. So the scale on the x-axis is different from y. So whenever you add an array, it will like try to replicate that that scaling in factors of the change in offset. I don't know how to explain it, but let me just show you. So if I added an array now, notice what will happen to the array. The objects will be, the array will not look exactly like the parent's object. So let me add in an array. Notice I click the wrench tab, add the array modifier, array. So let me just scale this up here. All right. I just increase the distance so that I can see the difference. Okay, so as the arrays increase, let me start increasing this. Notice that it's as if the object is getting longer. I didn't even make too much change. Let me like make this change, or maybe even move it. We'll do something weird with it, right? So come in. Yeah, let me do that with the shall I? Okay, let me just do that with the, let me add in a cube, an empty. Let's say, yeah, a cube. Let's add a cube, right? So what I have is the cube, and let me try to make this smaller. All right, so now please bear in mind, you know that the scaling is no longer 1, 1, 1, and maybe I should even rotate this slightly or something. Right? No, of course, at first it will look like everything is okay. That's because I'm not using the object offset. So now watch what will happen when I use the object offset to offset this. What's that? Object offset. Click on the object. Now I can see what happened to it. The individual arrays are no longer looking like the let me bring it out a bit. Look at how the offsets are changing, the arrays are changing. Meanwhile, they're supposed to look exactly like the parent here. But reason is because there's a change on the transform of this object, and as that array progresses, it's going to multiply that change. So if this is scaled down by, if it's scaled by 1.1, this one will be scaled on the axis by 1. Maybe like 0.9 or something. It's going to like multiply, like reduce or change the offset of the change of the children, and of course going to transmit as it progresses. So that's the problem. So that's why it's important that whatever edit you make to this object has to be done in the edit mode. So let me delete this. Let me control this. Let me delete this. Okay. So what I've added now is let me hide this one. I want to delete this empty and make it a there. All right, good. So is that cute? Yeah. So now I'm going to scale on the Z. Look at notice I'm scaling, I'm changing, I'm doing things, I'm rotating, I'm doing whatever. Maybe even move it out of the origin point. But when I add in the array, all the remaining objects are still going to look exactly like this. All right, so add in the array. Yeah, no matter how many arrays they are, regardless of what I do to this, they are still going to look. Okay, sorry, let me make it object offsets. Object offsets. So let's use this object. Yeah. So notice that whatever I do to it, the arrays are still going to look exactly identical to it. So now you could either do it that way, and yes, bear in mind that the in the properties of the initial object, everything is still 111 and like nothing has changed. Because all the changes I made were done in edit mode. But bear in mind that if you accidentally maybe you make a change in objects in what do you call it? In object mode. Sorry. Oof, I'm lost now. Yeah. Let me hide this for a minute. Yeah, good. So let me reduce this number. Reason why I got lost because the scene was too wide and have to start navigating to this. So yeah, so if in case I made any change in object mode and it started affecting my array, one shortcut way to do that, to fix it, is just to apply the transform, right? So to apply, you just press Ctrl A, okay, and you apply all transforms. And once you do that, everything should be fixed, right? So the scaling and the misbehavior will be fixed. Okay, so that's one thing to note, right? So I think Daniel, you're done sharing, right? So you can just press Ctrl A and it will fix the problem you're solving, the problem you're having. Solve the problem you're having. Okay. All right. So Dominic, can we have you ASAP? Dominic.
Yeah. I'm actually going to take much time where I am. But I actually took time to watch what you were doing, so I didn't really duplicate when we were working. Yeah.
Okay, so what are you saying now? You don't want to show us your screen?
Okay, no. This is where I am.
But you have a crush
to,
on the code. You don't want her to see what you're doing. That's just a joke. It's a joke.
I'm going to take much time, so this is it. Just so I was thinking maybe when the meeting is over, I'll replay what you were doing and then follow from here.
Okay. Or you can replay. Do you have an external mouse there, right? You've gotten the external mouse now.
Yeah.
All right, good. So what I did was you can add in the loop cuts, and I want to move as fast as possible. We have 30 minutes more, and I want to really talk about those other modifiers, else we won't be able to do our assignment for today. All right, so add in the loop cuts, and yeah, just keep working. Okay, so I'll just see what Brian is up to, and so we can continue. Okay, so the ladies are here now. Okay, Kausara is unable to share. Or Genevieve, I don't know why I keep calling you Genevieve. It's from a movie, right? Russia. Okay, so Genevieve, please, can you do you have something for us? Brian, I wanted to share your screen. I'm just talking to Jeremy while you're sharing your screen.
Okay, so let me share my screen. So I think okay, I pretty much will speak for all of us. So I think, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it now.
So I think okay, maybe this is just me. I think what pretty much people are scared of showing is actually achieving that blade type of shape. As you were coaching someone, I was really struggling to get it to this point.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I think finally I have. Of course, it's not the perfect thing, but this is what I've managed. Now,
I think you did fantastic though.
so I've managed to add the loop cuts. So
Okay.
I can just proceed faster because of time. So I know you need to hold Alt and select. Let me select the loop cut itself. Then you need to rotate. The shortcut for rotate is R. And then we need to constrict it to the Z-axis. And then we need to type the number of units that you want. So for the lower part, we'll start with 10. I hope it does not turn out bad, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah, you're doing fantastic.
Second, R, then constrict it to the Z-axis. And then we'll jump a number up higher, probably 20.
Okay.
It's starting to look bad, but let's just proceed.
Yeah, you're actually doing it correct. Continue.
R, and then Z, then let's bump up the number to 30. And then probably the last one is so Alt to select the whole loop cut, and then R to rotate, Z to constrict it to the Z axis, and then I'll put it at 40. Now, here is where I am now lost. You can see it has not really appeared as the way you are teaching us. So I was stuck here. So there was no point of adding an array modifier when it looks like this. So I can speak for all of us. I think getting that blade type of shape is what people are kind of it's kind of challenging. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. That's thank you for that. But believe it or not, you are 9 out of 10. 10 out of there already. You're almost there. So all you have to do is you just have to do the same thing. So the last one was, I think, 40, right? 40 degrees.
Yes.
So just select the top part and rotate 50 degrees. That's all. That's
okay. So select the
but take note, please be mindful. You have to select all the faces. I know now that's the only difference.
So this is so I select the face.
Well, you can select, you can select the face, but the idea is to select everything on that level, that top level. Select all the faces, edges, but it's on that top level, and you rotate it. No, the top level. It's just that flat. I think the shortcut. Exactly, perfect. You're done. So rotate and 50, and that's all. Or is it 70? I don't know what number is.
I think 50. Yeah. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, got it. Oh, right, so okay. I was beginning to get worried. Okay, it does not look bad. Okay, so, then the next thing is probably now adding an array modifier. So I'll go to on my right side the tool that looks like a spanner. Of course, if you put your mouse, it's the modifier section. So you add a modifier, and then you go to generate, and then you go to array, right?
Fantastic.
So, of course, it appears on the, I think, the x-axis, right? Then we want to put the shape back to the same. I mean, the mesh back to the same. So, I think here we'll put 0, and then on the y-axis we'll put 1.
No, not really. No.
Not really.
So
that's
we're using.
I am lost.
Okay, let me explain. All right. So you did fantastic. I think you've done a great job. Anyways, well, what we're adding now, we're not using. Notice the offsets we're using. So there are 3 offsets there. We have the relative offset. That's the one that is selected in that under that array panel.
Yes.
So there's the constant offset.
Yes.
And then there's the object offset. So what we are doing, we are using the object offset. Right.
Okay.
So using object offset can be tricky because it's like the most dynamic and stuff. So that's why I wanted to give you some tips on how to do that. Unfortunately, we'll be rounding up the class shortly, so we won't be able to talk about the remaining arrays, the remaining modifiers that I wanted to talk about. So we'll try to talk more about modifiers the next class, which is tomorrow, as much as possible.
Okay.
All right, so go to the object offset, and when you tick the object offset, what you want to do is you want to untick the array, the relative offset. So it doesn't really matter the number that I put in the. Once you untick it, it will activate it.
It will disappear. Okay. All right. It's gone.
All right, good. So now you tick the object offset.
Okay, so after ticking the object offset, I need to create an empty. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yes. So I'll press Shift A. Oh no, I'll just go to add. Oh, I think I'm on edit mode, so I need to go back to object mode. Yes.
Exactly.
So either tab or just come up here and select object mode. Go to add, and then look for an empty. I think we were using the sphere as an empty, if I am not wrong.
It doesn't matter. You can use anything.
Okay.
You can use anything.
So let me just add the sphere.
Okay.
Now that we have added that, select our object, and then go to the object offset. So we need to link the empty to the object offset. So we'll use the drop down. So I'll select the drop down and then highlight the empty. I believe it's somewhere here.
If you can't find it, if you can't find it, you can just click in the box. It will give you the list of all the objects that you can.
Yes. Okay. So let me escape to remove the drop down. Yes. And then I just select empty.
Exactly. All right. So you're having the same problem that Daniel had.
Yes. So so I think from here I am now stuck. But
let me explain. I explained what happened here. So what happened is you have made a transform on the object itself, and that is affecting the nature of the children. All right, that's the children of the array. Okay, so that's why I made specific. I was very specific that if you're making any changes to the cube, right? I mean, right from the cube level, not even right from the cube level, really adding the cube. Any changing, any editing, any tweaking to the shape has to be done in the edit mode. All right. So if you don't do it in edit mode, that's when you get errors like this. But don't worry, you can easily fix this. Just as you have it selected now, just press Ctrl A on your keyboard.
Ctrl A.
Now you want to apply all transforms. All transforms.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
So now, if you do that, it will fix the problem.
Okay.
All right.
So I can see the problem has been fixed. So basically now what we need to do is increase the count, right? So that we have that.
You can increase the counts and then rotate. And then you rotate the empty. So bear in mind, once you create an object offset, whatever you do to that object offset, the reference object that I made as the object offset, whatever I do to it will affect the array of the children, like the duplicates. So if you scale the empty object or the reference object, and the arrays, all the children will have a scaling progression. If you rotate it, all the children will have a rotating progression. That's how we got that fan rotating effect, right? So that's why we're using an object. An object offset allows you to make more dynamic changes, right? All right, good. So proceed.
So let me just add 10 only, because I know it's behind here. So if I come to the empty, which is selected here, so all I have to do is press rotate, which is R, and
actually, you're doing. I'll explain what's going on, but it's actually doing exactly what it needs to do, and you're on the right track. So if I was the one, what I would do is when I'm rotating, I like to rotate. I like to be in in an orthographic view. So maybe like front view, side view, I don't know,
Okay.
something. Right?
Okay.
And the reason for
Okay.
that is because when you rotate, it's
Mhm.
usually, unless you specify the angle you're rotating from, it will rotate relative to your view. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, but if you want to, as it is now, you want Control Z first. Can you Control Z first? All right. As it is now, you want the rotation to be on the green axis, which is the Y axis, right?
The y-axis, yes. So
Right,
I'll
so-
just select the empty.
Yeah, it's
Press
selected. Just press R.
R,
and
and then, sorry?
Yeah, continue. You can, if you want to type in the number, you can proceed like that, and then
So
type
I'll-
Y.
Y, and then probably 10.
No, maybe 20 degrees. I don't know. It's up to you. It's really discretionary. Okay, so
Okay, let's just start with 10 first, and then of course I'll fix this later.
enter.
So and
Enter.
then enter.
Okay, good, fantastic. Now it's yours is looking more like a fan or something, like it's not really offset well. So now click on the object. Now this is the beauty of the array modifier. You can still make changes to the object while in real time. So click on the object, go into edit mode, and notice that when you go into edit mode, you can go to the edit mode. Notice that when you go to the edit mode, it will only go into the edit mode of the main parent object, right?
Yes.
So now press A to select everything. All right. And then you can now move that on the Z axis. What you want to do, that reason why you want to move it on the Z axis, you see what happens to the children and you understand why, right? So click on it and move on the Z axis.
Oh,
now click on
sorry.
that.
Oh, wait. I think it's.
You can, yeah, keep moving on. No, hold on.
I think this is not supposed to happen.
No, hold on. No, it's actually correct. You're just moving in the wrong direction. That's all. So A, as a matter of fact, I wanted to use the arrow so that we can see the direction.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Click on the arrows.
So,
yeah. So now drag the arrows in the direction of that arrow. So that's the positive Z axis. So be careful that we can hold down Shift if it's moving too dramatic for you.
Okay, let me hold Shift.
And then keep moving upward while you hold Shift. Oh no. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Like,
sorry.
You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. So what I'm saying is, if the movement is too dramatic, it's too like dramatic for you, you can hold Shift to like slow down the movement. So just keep moving up, move up properly. What you want is the whole blade to be kind of sitting on the line, on that line. That's what you want. Yeah, it's okay like that. I think you're good.
Let me zoom
I think
out.
it's okay like that. Yeah, excellent. Okay. So at this point now, you can see that what you have is you don't have enough blades, number one, and you don't have enough.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can go back into object mode, click on the empty, and then you can rotate the empty even more to make the blade spread out even more. So rotate it on remember you want to rotate it on the Y axis.
Okay. Rotate. Okay. Yeah, okay, now I get why I was supposed to have a lot of blades. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it's up to you. So yeah, so I think you did a fantastic job. That's great. That's good.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely practice this after the class just to get it better. But yeah, so far so good. So yeah, this is what I have. You're doing great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So I'll just share my screen now. We need to start thinking of rounding up. Unfortunately, we're not able to go to the other modifiers, but I'll talk more about them tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, let me share my screen and I'll round up and before I discuss the class assignment. All right. So we've in all the assignments are basically geared towards, well, at least for this first stage, geared towards enhancing our modeling techniques, right? So once you get the modeling techniques and you have the ability to model properly, it's easier for you to model. If you can model almost anything, you've known you now you know about 70% of Blender. Basically, it's the rest is just modifiers to enhance your work and materials and etc. So yeah. So let me bring back my jet engine. So this is it right here. Now I told you that you don't necessarily have to use an empty for the what they call it, for the object offset. You can use anything you want for the object offset, and for that I'll just click X to delete. As a matter of fact, I'm going to redo the entire thing again to show you that you can do it in different ways. It doesn't have to be like procedural, like you have to add this first, then add this next. No. Okay, so X to delete everything. I'm going to be fast now because we're already out of time. So I'm adding a cube. Now, while I have the cube already, I'm going to add in I said I'm not going to use an empty. I'm going to use because I want to create the hub for the jet engine. So I'm going to add in a let's say a cylinder, right? Good. A cylinder. So I have a cylinder here. I'm going to go into the edit mode of the cylinder. Please, it's important to work in edit mode, else you might have errors. So rotate on the x-axis 90. So let me go to wireframes to see what I'm doing. So that's the cylinder. Rotate on the x-axis 90, and I'm going to scale the cylinder on the y. Okay, maybe even I'm going to make it narrower, so I'm going to scale it on Shift Y to make it narrow on x and y axis. Okay, so that's that, and add one loop cut, maybe bring it up here a bit, and yeah, maybe just something like here, and then I'm going to make this front part, make it very narrow. I can bring it back a little bit, make it very narrow. All right, something like a pen or like a missile, I don't know. All right, so yeah, maybe even make the entire a little bit bigger, and then scale on the Y. Scale on the Y. I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. Let me make this cone even longer, so something like this. Good. So now the cube, which is going to be the blade, right? So now, even as it is right now, so please bear in mind what the function of what we used the empty for. That's what this cylinder is going to be for. Now this cube, of course, is going to be the blade. So I'm going to create an array as this. Now just show you that you don't need to follow a particular step. You can do everything together, right? Because it's the array modifier. So you click on the array, then you generate, you add array. All right. Notice I'm adding the array to the cube, not the cylinder. Adding the array to the cube. Okay. So I'm going to untick this relative offset because what we are using is object offset. So I'm going to tick on this and click on this and select the cylinder. All right. Okay, so have the cylinder now. Now I'm going to go into edit mode. As a matter of fact, I can even maybe I can make this 12, I don't know, or maybe 24. Yeah, I want it to be quite dense. All right, so now I'm going to the cylinder, the cube rather, in edit mode of the cube. I'm going to bring it up to sit, just to sit on the line. Okay, so I'm going to bring the top a little bit higher, something like quite tall, maybe even taller. All right, so I'm going to select everything, make it longer on the x-axis, make it slimmer on the y, and maybe a little bit bigger on the y. Then add the loop cuts on vertical here, and another loop cut here. Okay, so that's done. Let me try to get the airfoil shape now. So go to vertices. Okay, and I'm going to select this front one, move it a little bit forward, and this back one and this one. Move those something like this. This one will be going here. All right. And this can come right here. Okay, this is discretionary, please bear in mind. Okay, so this comes back a little bit. Yeah, I think this is okay for me. All right. And I want to add in this. Okay, before I add in the subdivision mode surface, let me add in the loop cut for the rings, right? Oh no, even before that, I want to make the lower part narrow. Okay, so I'm going to scale it down. Maybe something like this is okay. Yeah, good. So now I'm adding the rings. Let me make not so much. Something like this is okay. All right, good. So now, so I'm using 10 degrees, so rotate Z 10. Next is rotate Z 20. I'm going to be very fast as possible. Is Z 30. Z 40. Rotate Z 50. Rotate Z 60. And then I'm going to select the entire top here. Okay, rotate Z 70. Okay, so now I have the twisting. And yes, remember that I made this object the what do you call it? The array, the object offset for the array. So anytime I do to this object, this cylinder here will happen to the array. So if I move this cylinder around, the array is there. The array is, please bear in mind, the array is still already there. So now I can rotate this center hub to something like this, and I have the fan. Okay. So I can still change the shape of this in edit mode, the shape of the shape of the center hub. So I want it to look more like a center hub for a jet engine. Maybe even make it bigger. Yeah, slightly. Okay. Now I'm going to go into this this on the Z axis, so it just sits on it. Good. Yeah, so that's it. Now I'm going to add in, I can now add in the subdivision surface modifier. That's notice the workflow of how I achieve this is different from how I did the previous one. Just show you that it doesn't have to be sequential like that, so you can do it however way you want. Okay, so maybe I'll make it 2 or something. Then of course, to make the blade smoother, you can leave the blade like this if you want. Let me shade smooth. You can leave, if this is the shape you want, you can leave it, but I want my fan blade to look like the real thing, so my jet engine blades look like real thing, so I'm going to, sorry, okay, no. Let me just use this, okay, and Shift E and 1. Notice that as I adjusted this, it affected all the remaining blades also. So I'm going to do the same for the now if a modifier effect is confusing, you can hide the effect, right? So this array is blocking my view from seeing the vertices of this initial object. So I'm going to hide the array. It's still there, but I just hid the effect, right? So now I can just go into object mode and select all the rings here and Shift E and then 1. All right, good. So now I can bring back the array modifier. Okay, so yeah, it's looking more like a jet engine tube now. So one last thing to make it look like a jet engine tube, I'd have loved for us to. So now under the mesh, I told you out of the default object, there's something called a torus. A torus is basically a donut shape. It's like it's a donut basically. So that's a torus. I've added it here, so because it's small, that's why I can see it. So I'm going to scale it up. But I want to do it in edit mode. Now, if there's no consequence of me scaling it here because I'm not adding any array or something to it, but I'm going to do it in edit mode all the same, right? So I'm going to scale it up, something like this. Let me go back to solid view. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, something like this, and about maybe a little bit, just so that the tip of the blades are sort of touching it, right? Okay, so scale it, and then I'm going to rotate on 90 degrees on the x-axis, right? So notice that we're having something that looks more like a jet engine now. And then the last step is to scale this on the y-axis. Voila, we have a jet engine sort of Okay, so now you can just move this so that you have the fan blade in front. And yeah, that's it. You can add an array modifier if you want this to be smoother. Let's add an array generate, sorry, not array, sorry, subdivision surface. Subdivision surface. So can make it smoother, and then you shade auto smooth. All right. So that's basically how to create a jet engine. And if you want several rings of this modification, you can just duplicate that, and have the array there. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it. Now we need to round up the class, but I want to quickly show you the assignments or what you'll be doing. All right. So let me just leave this. All right. So for your assignment, you'll be using the array modifier to create a staircase, a spiral staircase. So let me go to YouTube and sorry, Google, just gets a reference picture, and that's what we'll be doing. Okay. So I want to share my screen. Entire screen. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, good. So I'm going to I'm not going to overwhelm you, so I'm going to look for what's wrong with the network? All right, good. So we have how to get some reference images. Okay, fantastic. So this is what I wanted to do for a class work, but there's a tool that I've not spoken about that you'll be using if you're to make this, and that's using curves, right? So I've not really told you about curves. So I wanted to make okay, let's do this one instead. Okay, let's do this one. So now what I want to do is this. As a matter of fact, you can even still use the array modifier, but use the array modifier to create this spiral stair, right? This spiral staircase. Use the array modifier to create the spiral staircase. Don't apply the modifier. Okay, so just create the spiral staircase. If you apply the modifier, I'm going to assume you didn't use the array modifier, and that's going to be a penalty on the assignment. So for your assignment, you're going to create a spiral staircase like this. Okay. Now I will quickly show you how you can create this the handrails. Okay, but it's kind of like an expo. But that's because I've not showed you how to use the curve modifier. So quickly, how to create the spiral staircase, the handrail is you will still use the same array modifier, but in this case, you have to make it match up, right? So what I added is a cylinder, Z on cylinder, and on the top here, let me add in. Sorry, I'm snapping the selection to the top, but don't worry about that. So I'm going to add in another cylinder on top here. Now I'm going to rotate that on whatever axis, let's say 90, let's say. Then now scale it on, make it long. Okay. Then you now rotate it like this, something like this. And just leave it like that. Okay, that was
Hello.
Yeah, is it my network or his network?
I think we lost him. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I noticed I
We just
I,
started.
I
Your
dropped
network
off.
has been off since
Oof, that was
when
bad.
you place the cylinder slant. I think it stopped there.
Wow, that's serious. Okay, well, that's not too far away. So all I just did was I added an empty, like something what we've been doing. So, and I made the empty the object offset, right? So now using the empty, and this is an example of how you do the assignment. But let me just add in, let me increase the array. So we have like seven now. So what I'll do is I'll move the empty slightly outward, right? And so that's wrong. I'll move the empty. Yeah, so I'll move the empty slightly outward. Yeah. So I'm moving the empty slightly outward. All right. That's the first step. Second step is I'm moving it upward. Okay. And third step is I'm rotating it on the z-axis. I'm still going to move it a little bit this way. Yeah. Something like this. You can just adjust it so that you can have, yeah. What I'm trying to create is, you notice you have to do it better, right? So this is just, I'm just giving you an example of how to do it. Now, I want it to be such that the array of each of them they are connected to each other. So in that case, you can just like, what you can do is in each face, you can try to like rotate the faces, then you still extrude more, something to make it like the edge, the array will connect. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, yes, I know, but you basically have the knowledge to do this, and I believe in you guys. I know you can do it. All right, so that's what I did. So what you just do is move the empty around in such a way that it will form a continuous stream of the railings for the staircase. All right, so I'll send the pictures of the staircase to the group, of course. And yeah, please, another thing to note, you want what it might be. Yes, well, you can actually use the same empty for both the array of the staircase railing, the vertical guide rails, and then the steps, the ascending stairs itself. You can use one empty for that. It might be easier for you to just use. It might be easier for you to use different empties for those rotations. Okay, and of course this is, I'm already telling you how to do the assignment. All right, so yeah, that's all for me for today. Tomorrow we'll meet and we'll talk about all the things we skipped, and yeah. All right, so it's been a pleasure. See you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow our class will be 4 p.m. All right, so not 2 p.m. It will be 4 p.m. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much. Masarichi,